Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bloody Good Horror. If they put it in the rotator of Shudder.com and we're too lazy to pick something else, then we will review it. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be reviewing The Cellar, starring Elisha Cuthbert. John, we're going to talk a lot about the early 2000s here tonight, so get excited. What a magical time. The final years of monoculture, John, where you might have been tuning into Fox on a Tuesday night to watch 24, starring Elisha Cuthbert.
Mm-hmm.
If you were named Eric, that might have been.
I was watching it on DVDs. You remember when you used to get the DVDs?
I do. Yeah.
For a show? Yeah.
Yeah, and you could only binge 4 episodes at a time before you had to get your lazy ass up and put a new DVD in. That's bullshit. Joining us tonight from Manhattan, New York City, please welcome John Schnars.
Hi.
Next up from the PNW, that's the Pacific Northwest for you rubes out there. Please welcome Ariel to the show.
Hi.
Do people actually call it that? I always need to clarify.
I've never heard anybody say it out loud, but people write it
There's
out
t-shirts.
all the time.
There's certainly t-shirts that say.
Yeah.
Somebody's got a license plate cover somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Next up,
I was convinced Eric made that up on the spot.
No.
So
Oh, no.
No.
No, not at all.
No, I love the PNW, John. It's a whole vibe out there.
Yeah, no, cool.
Next up from the Bay Area of California, please welcome Matilda to the show.
Hello.
We have a 50-50. We have like an East-West Coast battle
Oh, that's
this evening
true.
on the show. A little 50-50. None of
Well,
those.
this 50-50 Bloody Good Horror Zombie Girls mashup.
That's true.
It's a
That's
straight
true.
mashup.
I think we can all agree to
Yeah.
none of those stupid flyover states represented tonight, which is pretty cool. So love it. Well, like I said, we're here to review The Cellar. This was Casey's pick, and then he's out from the show. Casey's having some spinal disc problems that are causing him
Ow.
some pain. I think he's going to see a doctor tomorrow, Schnars, he was telling us.
Yeah, it was looking good, and now it's taking a turn, but we're staying positive. We're staying optimistic.
Yeah, and if you follow Casey on social media, give him a shout out. Tell him you hope he feels better.
Yeah.
And do the same for Caitlin, who has been out here for like a month or two now at this point. But she is hoping to come back in May. And we'll talk more about Caitlin later because she's got Caitlin and Bloody Good Horror had a little bit of a milestone this week, John. So we'll talk about that coming up shortly. But first, let's take a quick break so that we can review The Cellar.
This is it, Senator. Your big break in TV. From the prime time. Main feature.
John,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to turn 40 this summer, this June.
Me too.
The big 4-0. And
Yeah.
confession here, John. I still will do the high step when leaving a cellar. Like if I'm walking upstairs to get out, like I will do I'll do a little
Like a little extra. There's
yeah.
like a little jump at the end.
little jump in my step there to get out of that cellar. In fact, I just
Yeah.
leave the light on in my cellar all the time so that when I open it up, it's light in there. Not very
Eric, by any
environmentally
chance-
conscious, but it makes me feel better.
Related to your age, by any chance, did you take a look at Elisha Cuthbert's birthday?
No,
I don't know the exact birthday. 39.
same age. Wow.
Yeah. Somehow she has like a 16-year-old in this movie.
What did I make her?
Right?
13 or something? No.
No,
I
not
can't
that,
do
come on.
math.
No, I mean it's like technically it's possible,
20.
and people do it. It's not like completely outside the realm of possibilities, but
It's not advisable.
I don't know. It's just tough. Like we can talk about it maybe later, but like for the female actress turning 35, like all of a sudden
like,
you
you're
are
a mom.
like playing
Yeah.
moms, and it doesn't matter if like your kid is like 20 in the movie, and like
Mhm.
no
Yeah,
one is
right.
questioning it.
Mhm.
It's like this was one of those where I was like, oh boy, Elisha Cuthbert. I mean, good on her. She's still working, but
John, that compound you bought out there in the wilds of upstate New
Mhm.
York, does that have a basement? It looked like a place
No.
where no basement.
Well, it's like a split level ranch. So like the basement is the downstairs.
oh, those are kind of cool. That's a whole vibe.
Like the driveway connects into
Mhm.
the ground level floor. There's like, that kind of deal.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, aren't you fancy?
So no crypt. There's no cellar situation.
My parents' basement has like a little wood door that led to like the I guess the hot water heater, but when I was a kid it might as well have led to hell because it was the most terrifying door in
Yeah.
existence to me.
Yeah.
It led into the walls, John, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Which isn't cool. So
No, I
basements.
don't care for the cellars. I'm also, against generally. I mean, it's like cool. You like can put stuff down there. That's great. But like, I'm not hanging
That
out
is
down
true.
there.
You know what else gets put down there though? I found spiders, which is not great. Not great. All right, John, please bring us the word of the day.
This is it, Senator.
Nope, the word of the day.
Just proud of you for catching it, really.
In my defense,
Um,
they're right next to each other. In my not defense, they don't need to be. I could switch that.
There's
at
only
any
two
time.
buttons. I looked real hard at using Cellar as the word this week, but I didn't. And instead, it's a fun. You can call it a synonym. It's not exactly. The word is undercroft. That's UNDERCROFT. Undercroft.
Sounds
It's
like
one word.
sounds like some sexy Victorian language here or something.
I mean, if only. Does anyone know what this is, Ariel or Matilda?
No, I've never heard of it.
I never.
No.
Yeah, this was a new one to me. It is the official word for the crypt of a church.
Oh.
Oh.
So it's basically like the church basement. So croft, at least according to the etymology I've got here, says it's a rare term for crypt, coming from the Middle Dutch when they spelled. I guess the original word was for cave,
Mm-hmm.
and it was CROFTE from the Dutch.
Fancy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about this movie, John.
It's got a cellar in it, so we can start there.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, yeah, you were joking, obviously, about things that are sort of put on the what is it, the carousel on Shudder. I mean, this was right.
Gets me
that is where we
every
saw it. Look,
time.
it's prime real estate
It
for the horror
is.
community. If you're in that carousel, like people are gonna pay attention, and we did. This comes to us from a writer-director named Brendan Muldowney. Mr. Muldowney has directed a couple other movies. This is not his first, fourth film. I do see, if you go back through his IMDb, there's a short that he directed in 2004 called "The 10 Steps." So
I watched it.
Oh, you did.
Wow, look
Yeah.
at you.
It's basically like the first little section of this movie. So it ends with the counting, the first time the counting happens.
Interesting.
That's like a real cliffhanger.
Yeah. It's good though. I mean, it kind of makes it
That
spooky because
kind
it
of
only happens once.
That kind of explains the weird way this movie opens. If they're just like,
Yes.
this is the beginning.
Exactly. Hmm.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, so Brendan Muldowney, writer, director here. We already mentioned Elisha Cuthbert. She, Queen of the North. She's a Canadian, turns out. Her husband is played by a gentleman. I am very curious if anyone can pronounce this. Eoin. Is it like Ewan? I mean,
Perhaps.
he's
That's
Irish.
not- I
I'm
mean-
assuming our director here is also. I think that in the credits there was also, it was like the Irish film
That sounds
board
like
or
a
whatever
good.
was
That
involved.
sounds like
in.
a good attempt to me, John, of pronouncing that.
Okay. Well, Ewan Mackin, and it's the two of them. It's a family of four. You've got Kira, Brian, Stephen, I believe is the little boy, and then Ellie, and they are moving from parts unknown. It's not exactly made clear where they're moving from, but they're moving to this like super duper old and creepy house.
Owen.
Owen. Oh, it's Owen. Interesting.
Oh.
Okay.
Owen.
Here are many more videos on how to pronounce
All
There
right.
you go.
There we go. But they move. So Kira and Brian move from presumably a normal house to a super creepy house that they bought at an auction from, like, they don't even know.
Kind of a hilariously creepy house, you might say.
Well, and they like move in, and there's like paintings
Comically.
on the wall. There's like spooky shit everywhere, and it's sort of like the kids are annoyed. They're annoyed because they're like moving out in the middle of nowhere, but also like,
Don't
why
let me
is there all this
forget, we
spooky
have
stuff?
to talk about the symbols and this like Rubik's Cube video game he plays on the computer because I have so many thoughts about that. I just want to put that out in the
Yeah, well,
ether.
all right. I thought so, but in any event, so they move there. They discover a cellar, and if you thought the rest of the house was spooky, let me tell you about this cellar. I mean, it's just a normal, like, creepy old cellar. God, I can't remember. Is it the first scene in the movie, or it's like one of the first scenes in the movie where, like, the like when the lights go out, weird things happen in the cellar. It's not 100% explained, how or why. But basically, Kira, Elisha Cuthbert, the mom, she's like not initially concerned, but Abby, the daughter, um, she's like there's fighting, there's like all kinds of family drama and tension. They leave Ellie to watch the brother while they're at work at night because they run an ad agency together, the husband and wife. That part, which I know someone mentioned in an email, was actually very realistic to me as someone who worked at an ad agency in a past life. But they leave Ellie home alone, and like tons of spooky stuff starts happening. And net, Ellie disappears while going down into the basement. She was going down in the basement to like turn the power back on because they thought the circuit breaker had blown. And so she's like walking down the stairs while on the phone with the mom, and like disappears. And there's like this weird counting thing and yada yada. They file the police report.
They
Police
love
can find her.
They love that counting, man. They think that counting is the scariest thing that's ever happened in a horror movie.
There are 10 steps in this basement. But yeah, the police, it's one of these situations where like Kira believes spooky things are happening. No one else believes her. And they're like taking this missing girl seriously. Like they're like looking all over for her because there had been tension, because she had been like bullied on social media. They're sort of like, maybe she ran off. I think she had also like run off one other time before. And so that introduces this whole like mom not being believed by everyone, but mom believing what she knows in her heart, which is that evil is afoot in this house. There's like symbols, and she starts to like unwind that puzzle. And I'll just stop there because there's lots of other random stuff we could talk about.
Just hearing about the movie again, I'm already out of it. I'm gone. Ariel, tell me what you thought.
Well, I thought this movie was pretty average. It's not good, but it's not bad. It's not terrible either. It's something where if I found this on TV in the middle of a Saturday afternoon, I would watch it while I was doing other things and I wouldn't be annoyed because there's enough there that's entertaining to like keep me watching, but it's nothing to write home about. It even tries to do some, horror tropes that we all kind of love, like the mysterious missing kid and the creepy cellar and investigating, symbols and, talking to a professor, but it does all of them really badly. Like none of them are done super well. So I just feel like it falls a little flat because I think the narrative never really gels together very well. So I think in the end, even though I do kind of enjoy that they went pretty dark with the ending, it's just not great. Yeah.
Matilda.
Yeah, I would agree. This movie was fine, right? Like if there's,
Yeah.
those kind of like fitness competitions where you have to, and then you have to do a push-up, and then you have to do a jumping jack, and then you have to, like it does all the things, but to what end, I don't totally know. Like I was scared, not at all, but it would, like I said, it would be fine to kind of watch this. It was pretty in places. I wasn't mad at it, but it was fine. It's not going to stick with me. And then which I'll talk about, it went off the rails so hard for me around the professor, but we'll talk
Yeah.
about that later.
I think you called it in the email a like fold your laundry movie.
Mhm.
I think that sums it up pretty well.
Yeah.
John.
I'm gonna be the defender of this movie. I think. And look, I'm not gonna lay down on the tracks for this movie in any way, shape, or form. I would say there were like through the first half of the movie, and you could probably draw the line when she meets the professor, maybe in a good way, TBD. But there were legitimate there's just the setup itself. The house is creepy. The cellar is creepy. The filmmaker knows enough about how to construct a scene to build tension and like make me anxious / scared. I was
Wow.
watching this in the dark in my bed, and I was like, "Oh, this is I don't know. Like, let's
Here's what I'm
let's
hearing
stay
so
out
far.
of that cellar."
Here's what I'm hearing so far. You guys were all in pretty good moods this week, and I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This is what I'm taking away from this so far.
It's definitely a box checking type of thing. It is very, very similar to many, many other movies that we've seen. Like this is very much like a by the numbers genre picture. There's like a handful. It turns the dial like 10 degrees from normal on some of those things. Specifically, like for me, and I realize this will get us eventually to the professor, but like there's like a math equation involved in this basement. Like that's just weird. Like it's very, very weird. And that was the part where I was like, huh, okay, science and evil. Like
Which is almost
that
a
made it interesting.
little. You saying that out loud made me think of Prince of Darkness a little bit. How that's not
Yeah, no,
math,
no.
but it's more like metaphysics or something like that.
It feigns in that direction, right? Like it kind of like it like nods, and it never really goes. There's no like.
But it's still just, I
equipment.
mean, yes, but it's still just following that like so incredibly overdone trope of like, at 50 minutes into the movie, she's going to walk into a professor's office and he's going to magically have all these like explanations for her. But then it will just do a weird thing like, oh, but also he's only smart because he hit his head in an accident and he's going to explain it
Well-
for 4 seconds. And you're like, what?
But hold on, the thing is, he doesn't really explain anything helpful. Like he like
He
there
just
is
he
a-
validates what she's experiencing.
Well, this is like maybe the most ridiculous part, and I'm gonna like undercut my saying nice things about this movie. But like the most absurd part about this movie is that the plot drop or the dialogue, the exposition dump comes from the one person who she should have started with to get the exposition dump, which was the woman she bought the house from. And partially it's like, they didn't have time to track her down, and then she finally is like, maybe I should go back and talk to. And then it's like, oh yeah, well, my dad was evil, and like he did evil stuff in the house, and now the house is evil. So problem solved.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish they had done more with that part of it though, because I feel like they sort of were testing the waters a little bit with cosmic horror, talking about the Leviathan
Yeah.
and stuff, and the other dimensions, but then they don't
There's
actually
no
go there with
visuals
it.
to like back it up. Like
100%.
I was
Yeah,
hoping
yeah.
for some like, because spoiler alert, we go to hell. I was hoping for some
Right.
like Hellraiser 2-esque weirdness.
That would have
and
been great.
it's
Is
just
it hell?
yeah, isn't
Mhm.
it?
All right.
It's-
I mean,
It's just people waiting in line for the bus, basically, is what they see in
yeah.
hell, which
Oh,
is
I'm not
hell.
saying it
To
looked
be
good.
fair,
It's a very monotonous hell,
yeah,
which I
Yeah.
guess is its own
but that's
thing.
not
But
fun. For I would disagree with some of what you're saying, John. I think that Matilda and Ariel, I'm a little more in their camp. The only real defense of this movie I feel like I could mount is I'm trying to take a step back and just be like, this could be starter horror because it is just so by the numbers of the tropes. There's nothing
Yeah.
outrageously scary or gory or offensive in it. You have like a tween or something. Like these are the kind of movies that when I'll talk to like friends with tweenage kids who will be like, oh my God, my kid watched this and it scared the crap out of it. And it's always something like this
Yeah.
that I'm like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
those are the moments that I realize, oh, we're just like, and this is okay. We're in different planes of this genre and what we're looking for and whatever. So I don't want to say like movies like this shouldn't exist. For the people listening to this show, for our purposes, I find this movie like aggressively cynical in that I wish I could make a supercut of the amount of times I've sat here and been like, boy, I sure am sick of these tropes since like Insidious came out in 2009, John, when we were doing this podcast. Like,
yeah, totally.
I knew I was in trouble when the teaser image for this movie is her on stairs with a candle, because I'm like, oh no, this is like a candle in a hand walking around movie. And like, those aren't always
and
awful.
the goat horns are in there too.
Those aren't always terrible, but when your whole thing you're selling this movie with is she walks around with a candle and spooky stuff out, like, it's just, that's not necessarily going to be my jam. I just also think it's like really cynical in the way it hits every one of those goddamn beats. Like we're going into the, and it does throw you for a loop every once in a while, like the professor and his brain injury that made him smart,
Right.
like that has nothing to do with the movie whatsoever. I guess they read one of those articles about somebody gets hit in the head and knows German suddenly or something like that. But, and there's just no payoffs. Like nothing scary ever really happens to Elisha Cuthbert. The hell stuff is so wildly disappointing. Like they're fully in it. The house goes to hell. Like that would be a cool name for a movie, John. House goes to hell.
The house that went to hell.
Like, and it's
Ooh,
nothing.
yeah.
You know what it is? It's like a blue filter and some dead trees is the just space sum.
Are you
of
talking about the
hell.
final shot of the movie?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, somebody mentioned Leviathan. What if there were like, I don't know, flying demon whales, John, and like literally anything
yeah.
to make it more visually stimulating is my point.
Right.
And
Because
something that's not like Kanye's clothing collection.
Yeah, it looked like an album cover, like a early 2000s like southern
Shuffling.
rap album cover or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
and then when you do finally
that's
get a
so fun.
creature on screen, it's like Wish made Baphomet. You know, it's like if you ordered Baphomet off of Wish. This
Oh
is
my
what it
god,
looks
his
like.
little like hairy legs that would just be in a shot every once in a while. I was
Yeah.
like, all right. my
Shots fired at Wish.
God. So, man, I cannot find anything to recommend this movie. Like, unless you're looking for fold-in laundry horror, in which case I guess you could go. you could
well, or
do
watching
worse.
with your, like
Tweens.
tween nephew who
Sure.
like
Yeah.
is like, I want to see something scary, but like don't, let's not go
I mean,
into the
you know
deep
what's
end
interesting?
yet.
It doesn't even have fun, cheap jump scares either. Like there's some of that, but it's not really aggressive. Which I know it's
Well,
weird that I'm not asking for that. I guess it's just notable.
That I was gonna say, like, I sort of appreciated that all of the scary parts were not they could have done the cheap stuff. Like anyone can do that. Like that is
Yeah.
dime a dozen. And they don't like they are really, really working to try to do like environment is not the right, what's the right word? Like scene building horror. And like, look, if you're saying it didn't work for you, like totally get it. I'm just saying it like worked a little bit more for me, it sounds like.
Mhm.
Can we just talk plot for a second?
Please.
Sure.
Y'all keep saying they went to hell. My understanding, and this is like, look,
Because I was getting heavy The Beyond vibes, and that's the deal with The Beyond is at the end, there's like a door in their basement that the zombies are coming out of. They backtrack it in the end, and when they go through the door, they realize they're now in hell and they're stuck there, and that's like the imagery is very similar. I felt like.
Sure, but like in the movie, so Baphomet is not the devil. Like the devil is separate from Baphomet, and like my understanding was like the scientist guy, the original scientist, not our professor friend. The scientist was like found this equation, and the equation sort of like connected Earth to other dimensions.
Yeah.
But it wasn't hell. It was just like a dimension where like Baphomet was like in charge.
Well, they're in the,
So
the
my-
hell dimension. I don't.
Well, my reading was like all those people that were like shuffling, they weren't necessarily in hell. They were like trapped in this other dimension. Like
Interesting.
the daughter didn't like go to hell. She was like captured by Baphomet because he had like this portal had been opened. They referenced that there's like another portal
it's a
in
little
like
like-
another house
It's a
in
little
Belgium.
like Phantasm
Yeah,
too.
where another kid
Right.
disappeared.
Yeah.
I thought they referenced that like Baphomet was the guard of the gate to hell. So that's what made sense to me that he was in the cellar. And
Mm.
Yeah.
I think part of where I got that she went to hell is in the little synopsis that's at the top of Shudder. It says that the mom will go to hell and back to get her daughter. So I
Interesting.
assumed that's where she went.
Euphemistically speaking,
but-
you know,
I
His
mean-
mood is pretty concrete though, ultimately. So
Yes.
But is
It's
the
based
movie?
on science.
But is
so-
the movie just saying, "Oh, actually, hell is this other weird dimension"? Like, is the movie offering them
Yeah,
like a
I
more
mean,
Maybe
scientific
it kind of seems like both.
explanation?
They couldn't
That's what-
decide.
maybe
They
I'm-
couldn't figure it out.
I'm
Yeah.
Well,
splitting hairs
You made a good
potentially,
point,
but
Ariel. So this movie like goes out of its way to reference horror. Like I stand by feeling like it's referencing the Beyond with some of that imagery.
Mhm.
But then
Yeah.
there's a very clear changeling reference. I just saw it
Yes.
honestly as a lazy kind of like we need something here. Ariel, you made a good point though. Is like if you really if you could read too much into it and think it's like sending the plot in a different direction because the plots are not the same. Like it's not any kind of supernatural ghost child movie or anything. You know what I mean?
No, I thought we were going in a changeling direction because, a lot of movies will have a reference point from another horror movie as like a nod to horror fans. And I feel like you can do that once and that's fine. But in this movie, that ball showed up like 5 different times in the
Right.
movie. So if you're going to ram it home that hard, I felt like it was going to mean something. It was going to have something to do with the plot. So I was thinking they were going to switch it up and it was going to go in a changeling direction. And so when it didn't, I was like, well, why even have it?
Maybe
then?
the
Well, the
ball hit the
ball-
professor in the head, and that's why he's so smart. Just gonna throw that out
it
there.
fell through the dimensional portal. No,
That-
the
there's
ball,
there's a description for the Shutter tab there. Just like a ball hits a
ball that-
professor's head, makes him smart, and then
Yeah.
he tells the person
the
something.
ball. Like I can't remember the first time you see it, but like, isn't the whole point of the ball that it like falls down the stairs, but it hits like a million stairs on the way down
Yeah.
instead
Oh,
of
totally.
the,
I'm just saying, but
Oh.
it rolls across the floor a few different times throughout the
Yeah, yeah.
movie. And so if you're going to draw my attention to it, then you either have to go that way or you have to subvert my expectations and go a different way. And this movie just was like, I don't know what I want to do.
Do you know the point
Yeah.
of this movie that I like fully tapped out was okay? So the doors have symbols above them,
Yeah.
like rune type things, and like it's
well, they're Hebrew
and,
letters,
you
right?
know, and they're not
Yep.
they're visually interesting, right? And then the husband at one point is on the computer and he's trying to like connect it all together, like sleuth style. And also above it, but it's like the symbol, and then there's a triangle like above each one. So all he does is he takes all the triangles and just puts them together into a pentagram, and I'm like,
Well, hold
Ye-
on. There was
Oh.
one door that didn't have a triangle. It had the pentagon.
it's just
And
like
so he
the
puts the other
visual,
triangles
the
on
visual
them.
of him doing it is so silly because it's
Yeah,
like
it was ridiculous.
because it's ignoring the cool looking symbols and then just going like bleep bleep, and you're like, it's the most scary of 61st.
Yes,
like,
I was
conspiracy
thinking that
theory
same thing with the
bullshit.
pentagram.
And it's funny
Well,
because they
he-
do kind of nod to that too, though, in the scene, like with the husband saying to
Yeah.
her, the husband points out to her other ways you could interpret conspiracies into what's happening that make no sense, like to kind of disprove like what she's going through.
Again, in defense of the logic of this film, which is just the role I'm playing tonight, she sends him the pictures because he's like the visual designer of their little agency thing. And she's like, hey, I sent you those pictures. Like, why don't you basically like screw around with them? Because she's the one who comes up with the Leviathan spelling. Like she sends she has like one of their like underlings at the agency research
I kind
the
of
letters.
love how unhinged she gets and just starts saying this shit to anybody that will listen. It's kind of
Yeah,
amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah. But like he's then just like using whatever fucking
But then
InDesign
okay,
or
but
something
the
to, like,
other
play
point
around
the
with
other
these
point about
pictures.
that though is that is very deep into the movie. Like this movie
Oh yeah, yeah.
trades heavy in what is probably my least favorite horror trope, which is a character who figures everything out early in the movie or is at least suspicious and then has to spend like 45 minutes telling other people and not being listened to. I blame this on Child's Play. I think Child's Play wrought this scourge on the world and the horror genre because that's a whole movie based around a kid who knows what's going on, so like nobody will listen to him.
Well,
It's annoying to
yeah.
me. It is like plot idling because you're not going anywhere. It's just increasing shit happen, and then we see the same conversation play out with the wife and the husband. To me, it's just like, again, it's what I mean by this sort of lazy trope go over and over in this movie. So you spend like 50-ish minutes just waiting for him to believe so we can get to the third act and like see some.
Well, and
path
he
in that.
never really believes. Like he basically gets like converted into being part of the like, I don't know, like demonness
Well,
of the
that's,
house.
That's fair. Yeah.
No, look, like I agree. I don't love it. It was they did this whole thing with it was this whole thing with the mother and the daughter and their relation. Like for that whole setup to work, you have to be very invested in the character, which like they don't go out of their way to get you super invested in these characters, which I actually appreciated because we talked a bit on email. Like this movie starts like you're just like kind of thrown in a bit to the deep
it's
end.
real weird the way it's like I found it a little jolting the way it starts.
But then what the reality is like there's a lot of fucking plot. Like there's just a lot of plot. And so to your point, Eric, like when they're solving this thing, it's like already top of Act 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so most of the like really quote unquote crazy parts, if this were Hellraiser, that shit would have been figured out at the end of Act 1. And then you've got like all the crazy like demon stuff and yada yada. Here it's like all that stuff is confined to the last 20 minutes of the movie.
John, does this pass your ghosts posing a corporeal threat test? Or
well, the
demons in
daughter's
this case?
really gone, right? Like
That's fair.
the thing is like the daughter's gone. And so again, like a lot of this movie hinges on like, do you believe that it's like Elisha Cuthbert selling the desperate mom thing? Are you buying it? And like, I don't know, like it worked enough. I was nervous about the son. Like I was getting anxious about like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Something bad's gonna happen to this kid.
He was very unsupervised for parents who are worried that a hell mouth is open in their mouth.
You're so right.
Yes.
He was watching that kid.
But it was like he could also be possessed at any time. Like he would just stand up and start counting and like walking around. It was unclear what the triggers were all the time. And look, I guess they'd only been in this house like a week. It wasn't like they had a lot of warning. But yeah, at a certain point, I was like, they should just put a bell on him. Like when he stands up and starts walking.
Or maybe ask him like, why is the spooky Victrola out? Right? Nobody's like noticing that. I was into the spooky Victrola actually, and the
I
kind of
thought that
deadpan
was cool.
counting
Yeah.
from the professor with the little scratchy record that I was into.
Yeah.
But the parents aren't like, what happened right before your sister disappeared? For some
they don't
reason,
ask
they
him
did. They're
any
just like, go to your
questions.
room and let's not think about you.
Just to hit on because it comes back with the Victrola, the formula. So basically, like when they turn on that record, he like you hear the weird voice read the formula, and I think he's pronouncing that string of characters, and then just starts like counting, which I'm not like. What is the counting to the formula? That's what makes not that much sense to me. The other thing, and this is like a very minor like math rant, I guess, but like. The formula has a 1 and then an N in it. Like the N is a variable, but the number 1 is just in front of it.
John,
you would never do that,
John,
because the 1 doesn't do anything in that context. Like it's just ridiculous.
Oh, you're right. That's true.
Yeah.
you're right. That's what
I couldn't get over that. As soon as I saw it, I was like, this is dumb.
Yes,
like, why
John. That's what ruined this movie for me too.
just like,
Like math equation.
literally show the equation to anyone who's like seen a math problem. Like I understand the filmmaker probably has not done math in a while.
It's easy enough to
Like,
find a math
maybe, yes, I
person,
don't know.
John.
Maybe that's what's going to make that mathematician lose his intelligence again, is from having.
He
Or-
saw it and it was like,
Or he's just lying and he's not smart.
yeah.
He
Well,
just
we
got
know
hit.
he's smart because he has an old globe in his office. which is-
Right.
The you mentioned the Victrola, John. That's that's an effective thing. It was very like Evil Dead. That was the other reference I was sort of feeling a lot.
Yeah.
All I could think was they get that big giant like steel needle digging into that thing. It's not going to last very long, John. That's bad.
I
for
didn't
your vinyl.
understand. They never like every time it started, it played at the same point, but you never saw it like move. I don't know. I don't 100% understand how those things worked versus like a more modern record player. But
Demon House, John.
Well,
Fair.
they played at 78, right? At 78 speed, or they used to.
The
so
old
they
ones?
would go fast around.
But
whatever
like
the recording
they
was.
never like the needle just like always hit the exact same spot. But it wasn't like the beginning of the record. It was just like dead middle when I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think they were too worried about those kind of details. I mean, the plot and narrative in this is so rudimentary. It feels like they were like, let's just put all these symbols out there and people will think it's creepy. We don't actually have to tie anything together, you know?
You ever watched a horror movie on weed, man?
I might go back and watch this.
And I don't know, like
On
I
weed.
like Elisha Cuthbert and other things she's done, but I felt she was pretty just okay in this. There are a lot of scenes where you're supposed to be scared because she looks scared, even though nothing's really happening other than maybe some like breath in her face, or a light flickering or something. And that is enough to do it for me sometimes, where you just see that look of utter terror in somebody's face. I did not buy it on her.
What did
So
you think,
the
Ariel?
scare
of-
was lost.
What did you think of Elisha Cuthbert, social media genius?
That was kind of cheesy. And then, they're doing this whole campaign, this like natural selection campaign, and it's all about like fake people pretending to be influencers. It's like overly complicated. And then they pull in the fact that the daughter has been bullied on social media. And you see as the mom's realizing this, like, oh, my work and what I'm doing is maybe contributing to this like toxic environment that's ruining my daughter. But then they do nothing with it, and nobody ever says anything about it. We just move on, like nothing happened.
Because she needed her daughter to be bullied to understand that. I also liked how on the nose it is when the guy she's working with is like, these stupid idiot normal people. Like he goes on this whole rant about how
Yes.
dumb regular
I think that was
people
the
are.
client. I think that was the client they were trying to.
I was
Yeah.
checked, pretty checked out. by
So that's
that.
why they were
Yeah.
like, yes, they are
Yeah.
dumb.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
And then can we talk about the daughter's like anarchism books?
Please.
Because we because we have to understand she's rebelling, right? Because she's not
Right.
enough of a total jerk in the first 5 minutes of the movie. Like,
I love
She
that.
had a tattoo too, which
Right. Yeah. She's got the tattoo. She's a bad girl.
going to hell at that point.
That was a real
Yeah.
rebelling against my parents kind of tattoo.
Yes. That's
So what
true.
about the books, Matilda?
Were they real? They were real books. Those
I
were
think
like
they were. It was just hilariously on the nose for me. Like her, yeah.
It's all very on the nose. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to like where were they moved? Like who moves to this house? Like these were like advertising executive people who worked in like
Yeah.
office jobs.
Right.
Like,
Wouldn't they
move
be
to
in the
this-
city? Why would you move to the countryside into
John's
this
like,
old mansion?
Yeah,
That
John's
makes
like,
no
"Ugh,
sense.
why would you move out of Manhattan to go to that place?
Well, it's more. I don't know. It's just like I couldn't understand like who the characters were, and they were just like they were like we're moving here for the kids. Like they need more space, I guess. But then
the
it's like they're
daughter
never
says you're
around.
doing it for you, right? You're
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
it for your career, but like I don't know what career is out there for an advertising.
Right.
Yes,
firm.
exactly. Yes. Yeah.
They
What
just
was the
didn't
name
tie
of the
stuff together.
firm? The name of the firm was also very cringy, and I can't remember what it is. right
Oh
now.
darn! No, I can't either.
No, I don't know. Yeah.
It was like rock
I
and
don't
roll.
doubt.
It was like a something and something. I can't remember what it was.
It was rock and roll. It's hip. Yeah.
I don't know. For me, the one thing that worked is that first scene with the counting, where the daughter is going down the steps and they get to 10 and she just keeps going. Like, that's kind of tense where the mom's just on the phone worried about, what's happening to her daughter. But then they use that counting so many times that I feel like it lost all of its scare. Where in the short film, because it ended with that, you're left with, oh my gosh, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
How did they set up in the short? How do they set up that there are 10 stairs? Like, I realize it's called the 10 steps, but like,
So the daughter has had a panic attack before in the cellar. And so the dad at this dinner with their clients, because they also have clients that they're courting, is walking her through it. And he's kind of like, you only have to get down 10 steps. And then he has her count.
gotcha.
Yeah. It's basically the exact same thing. I mean, even the little brother who scares her with the cow skull thing happens in the short. So it's really just sort of copy and pasted. And then he added a bunch of stuff after it for the rest of the movie, which is maybe why it doesn't totally hang together.
Is it the same? Is it this totally different cast? I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Mhm.
a short movie kind of.
Well,
cast.
it's 13 years before or even more.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean,
interesting.
they're using like old Nokia phones in the short.
I
So
love that. I do like that.
yeah. But it's
So,
on YouTube for free if anybody's
like-
interested.
Better.
It sounds
Call
like the
Saul.
short might actually be a little better
Yeah.
because it kind of fits well. It's ahead. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
it
Yeah.
It doesn't
doesn't-
overstay its
yeah.
welcome.
It's
Yeah.
also it doesn't last as long.
I mean,
so.
yeah.
It's
If you're
like 8
if you're
minutes.
just looking for old cell phone action, John, I highly recommend a little show called Better Call Saul. Some good cell phone action in that show.
Oh yeah.
It's a prequel. I have nothing else to say about this movie. Anybody else? And you got anything?
We'll do it. Let's talk downer ending quickly.
Oh yeah.
It surprised me for a movie so kind of by the numbers that they did that, I guess.
Yeah, I thought they were going to get a happily ever after kind of ending. So I was a little bit surprised when it did the opposite of that. And that it's not like just the dad gets stuck or something, which would also be kind of sad. But the fact that the whole family, including the kids, is stuck there forever is like, whoa, okay.
It's not great.
No,
I
but
I liked it. Like
yeah,
I wasn't sure how the hell they were gonna end it, you know. And if it had been a happy ending, I probably would have hated. Like I maybe not hate, but I would have been like, oh fuck this movie. Like, but
right.
the fact
Yeah, I feel
that
like it
they at
redeems
least-
it a little.
Yeah. For me at least, I was like, okay,
Mhm.
good on you, good effort.
Yeah, I really dislike the trope. I think I talked about this in email. I really dislike the trope of kind of like a woman finding her maternal instinct as like redemption
Yes,
in horror. Like,
it's used a
Her-
lot.
Like,
Her
oh,
maternal
mom.
instinct got her and her whole family killed.
yeah,
Or
That's true.
hell
Yeah.
trapped or whatever.
she should have been back at cold and careerist. Like, at the
Yeah,
beginning.
exactly.
Everybody would have been better off. Yeah.
Hey, you're right. We're better off without that crazy teenager. Yeah. Well, live and learn. Well, don't live and learn, I guess. But
Yeah, but you're right that the downer ending is good because in the kind of paint by numbers genre movie, this should have been the two of them embracing at the end and like some denouement with the daughter, right? Which it doesn't have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a nice little twist, a little bit. I mean, when she opens the doors, like it still doesn't have a creative look to it, you know, but I will give them the fact that they did a downer ending, and I appreciate that.
I find downer endings are more realistic, John.
I know you do, guy. I
Things
know.
never end happily, John. That's not how endings work. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, would you recommend this movie, Ariel?
I think unless you're 11 years old, probably not.
John,
I'll go no as well.
where's this on your top 10 list this year, John?
Oh,
It sounded real
Yes.
high on it.
we haven't seen that many movies. So.
All right, Matilda, take us out. What do you think?
Yeah, I have to say no unless you are, like Ariel said, like a starter horror. I think is a good if somebody needs to be scared but not too scared.
These are the kind of movies like when people ask us starter horror, what's a good? I would never. I'm not going to remember this movie tomorrow, so I'm going to forget to
That's
say
true.
it. So
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
that we're saying it now
Mhm.
for next time. That's what I would say. But otherwise, no, don't watch this. All right, everyone. It is time. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
The mystery continues. Psycho 2. Rated R. Now playing at a theater near you.
Hi, this is Dana Roebuck from Everything You've Ever Seen on Television, and you're listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
And we're back. info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. John, we sent out our first tease for the Patreon exclusive t-shirt that we're going to be releasing very soon. Did you see the tease?
Can't
John?
wait. Yeah, I did see it. I
It
did.
is neon. It has some horror character references in it. It's a lot of fun. It's done by John over at Slime and Grime. John, just a little mom and pop
Great name.
horror artwork shop over there
Mhm.
in Massachusetts. Also, not a flyover state. It's worth it's worth saying.
Soon, Casey misses one show, and it's
I was
just
gonna say.
no punches pulled.
Is this
I
what
just never
happens?
get to say it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're keep an eye out for that soon in your Patreon inbox, and check it out if you haven't seen it already.
Eric, can I quickly mention? I think the BGH feed, the podcast feed, is fully operational.
Yeah, you messaged today that like 3 episodes came through at once.
Yeah, I mean, so we figured out the Apple thing, which was, let's call it like 50-50 user error and, other issues.
Oh, there was a thing.
Sorry?
There was an actual thing that we had to do?
Yeah, there was some things that had to get,
Job.
I had to knock around on it a little longer.
Wow.
But then what happens is, and maybe I talked about this before, some of the other players just piggyback on Apple's.
Right. So there were some like Downcast, I think was one that wasn't getting
Well,
it.
Overcast is the one I use, but and like in Anchor in the like help section, it's like, oh, well, to get your podcast on Overcast, get it onto Apple, and then it'll just show up eventually. But it took like another week or two to get into Overcast, but it did show up. We had gotten a message from someone that was using Podcast Republic, or I can't remember. It was one of the other players, and I'm hoping it was the same thing. That like
What I love now is that all those Apple users will go back those 3 episodes they missed, and in the first one here is be like, "We're so excited to be on Anchor, and everything worked, and it was great."
Yeah.
And then
Good
it didn't.
times.
But yeah, we're back, so there you go. Get excited. What else we got going on? Let's see, we mentioned earlier. Oh, John, it's been 1 year of Plug It Up. Plug It Up 1 year anniversary. I think it was yesterday, based on what I saw. So that's exciting. BGH presents. That's of course with BGH's very own Caitlin, who will hopefully be back here coming up in May. Matilda and Ariel, where can people find you two when you're not here?
Yeah. So we're part of the
Besides-
Zombie Girls Network, so they can
besides
find
the
us on
PNW.
zombiegirls.com, GRRLZ. I remember this time.
Nice.
And you can find us anywhere that you find your podcasts, and then on Twitter and Instagram. Matilda and I spend a lot of time on there, and that is ZG Podcasts, plural, on both of those.
Love it. Very, very nice. Yeah, thank you to both of you and all the zombie girls who have helped us out.
Oh,
while
thanks for
Caitlin's
having
been
us.
gone.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Trying to find out where the Ask BGHs start, John. Schnars, you got anything to plug? How's New York City going over there?
It's pretty good.
Is the COVID coming back yet?
I mean, I think it's kind of gone back away. I think the numbers are going back down again, but it was, I don't know. People are still wearing masks around all that. So
I'm going to be flying in June. I'm not looking forward to being on a plane with no masks because before COVID, I got sick every time I flew because why wouldn't you
Yeah,
get sick?
me too. Mm-hmm.
Like the only times I've ever been sick and like flown and not gotten sick were in the pandemic, ironically, because everyone had masks on.
We've had a couple of prom spreader events.
Oh, no.
Super
Oh,
spreaders.
no.
Oh boy,
Yeah,
That's a bummer.
that will happen.
Mm-hmm.
You
Of
just
course,
expect
right? If you're
STIs, not COVID.
I took my 5-year-old to like a high school play a couple weeks ago, and I was like having half a panic attack the whole time. Like just being in a room, immobile with that many people for that long, I was like, no, thank you. It's highly unpleasant.
Yeah.
All right, we are on Twitter with the hashtag AskBGH. Casey was on it this week. Got some tweets out, so we got a few things here. This is from our buddy InfoWarf. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you guys saw, but now they're saying that Elon Musk is not going to buy Twitter.
I saw that. Yeah.
Hilarious.
That he might back
There-
out.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The story came out today that he might have to back out. Yeah, because of what's happening with Tesla's stock, basically.
Well, the Tesla stock is getting annihilated.
Yeah.
Because maybe it was a dumb and rash move on his part, John. And
No. He never. You stop.
I will
Never does
not.
things like that.
Yeah.
He would never.
But man, he's not even like, let's say he was going to take it over. He's not even running it yet. And he's made it unusable this week. Like literally it's all just people losing their shit about him buying it. It's unusable. Matilda, you have a blissfully unaware look on your face right now, which I'm jealous of.
I mean, I follow it a little bit, but I don't use Twitter so
That sounds
much. And
great.
so
What do you
Stay
do?
strong.
We have a thing that we use. We use like Hootsuite, so you don't even have to go on Twitter to like interact with
Let
people
me ask
on Twitter.
let me ask a question. I'm
Yeah.
going to pose this to both Matilda and John here. What do you do when you're like really bored and you're just desperate for like any kind of dopamine, and you're going to like you need something to anesthetize yourself with? Like what do you do? And if you guys don't experience that, that answers my question, and I'm jealous.
no, I
of both of
do.
you.
Do you mean on the internet or do you mean in life?
Anything.
Or
Like if you're just like, oh my God, I need a distraction right now. What am I going to do? What am I going to put in front of my face?
But like, how long do you need the distraction for? Because
sometimes
the answer for me, like,
No,
I think the thing that I'm
they're
doing
short
that other
bursts
people,
of time for me, but it's a lot throughout the day, I feel like.
I love Spelling Bee, the game on the New York Times.
Mhm.
That like, you know, it's basically it's like Wordle where it's like a puzzle a day, and I play it in like 5-minute bursts throughout the day.
Yeah.
Some days I don't play it at all, but like when I have that downtime, I'm like, oh,
I'm
yeah,
getting
here's
to
some
the point. Go
spelling
ahead,
bee time.
Matilda. What do you do?
I'm going to give you an embarrassing old lady answer. I end up on Ravelry looking at knitting patterns.
I
Oh.
love that. I love that.
Nice.
Yeah.
I do. I look at sports stuff too. Like I read the news. Like you know,
I'll do
but-
similar things to that, Matilda, but that will sometimes end in me buying things I don't need to make me feel better, and I don't love that either. The game thing is interesting, John. Yeah. I'm starting to have the experience with Twitter that eventually led me to deleting my Facebook, which is that I just realized one day every time I logged on, it made me feel bad. Like
yeah.
consistently every single time I had a negative emotional reaction to almost the first thing I saw. And Twitter was not like that, which is why I've stayed with it, but it's starting to feel like that, dude. Like,
I don't understand how people don't have that experience. Like I
Yeah.
think a lot of people on Twitter who say they love it like have deluded themselves.
you're also talking
to
to a person
need
who
it.
you're also talking to a person who maxed out his blocked words list to try to. Do you remember that? I tried to like
yeah.
filter out all the stuff
I didn't know you
want to
maxed
see.
it out.
Oh yeah, I hit the limit. So it ruined my whole plan because in order for that to work, I need to be able to update it weekly with whatever the news cycle is to just keep that crap like out of my feed.
Yeah, but you got to go back through
Hmm.
some of the old ones and be like, it turns out I can turn like
You'd
don't
be
know,
surprised
whatever,
how
the wall back
however
on or
green they
something.
are, John. It's very. I feel
I
like
think the only thing I use Twitter for is like very, very local things like what is
Interesting.
going on in my neighborhood that there are 5 helicopters, or like
it can be useful
during-
for that.
when there are a lot of protests, like where is the movement of this and where are the police kind of
When an
things.
internet, I'll use it like when an internet connected thing is not working the way it should be. I'll go to Twitter and be like, "Is this thing down?" and just see if people are complaining.
You can use Google for that. Like you can just Google like, what's going and because Google will search Twitter and it'll show you if there's like tweets about it. So
Spoken like somebody who worked at Google.
I mean, it was a long time ago now, but yeah.
I'll never forget, John. You may forget.
Oh, you did.
I remember. It's like in my brain.
This is
You
very-
could also use Bing, presumably, if you wanted
Yeah.
to do the same thing. It just would be shittier results.
What about So what do you're on the Twitter, Ariel? I feel like I see you on there sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, not really for like a personal account, but just for the zombie girls, I'm on there a lot. But I actually find that not too bad because the list of people we follow and stuff is so curated to horror stuff that I would say like 95% of it are things that I'm at least somewhat interested in.
Yeah, see, I'm also like I've had a Twitter since it started almost. So who the hell knows who I'm following? Like it would take forever. It would take forever to curate, go back and curate. So who knows?
Hmm
Interesting. I feel like we all learned a little bit about each other this evening.
Yeah.
I like that. Man, one of my things lately has been there's this website, Knee High Horror, that Mondo turned me on to. It's KNEEHIGH. They're based out of Vegas, where he is, and it just looks like a little boutique thing. But they make horror pins, like nice die-cast pins that are awesome, and really like they're the best pin prices. So I'll find myself on there sometimes when I'm trying to just like distract my brain, but then I end up spending money. But I have a pin board over here now, so there you go. All right, everyone. That's enough of that. Ask BGH on Twitter. topic of the moment. This is from InfoWarf. Piggybacking off part of last week's conversation, if Pumpkinhead could bite you and you would become a werepump, would you be mad about it? I might dig it.
I love that.
He's pretty tall. It might be interesting to see the world from that point of view. Haven't had that experience in my life. Other than that, I don't know. Being a Pumpkinhead seems rather unpleasant, I would say.
Yeah, probably. I mean, if you were a werepump, then if it was just for a single night, you know,
It also
maybe
breaks the
that would
mythos.
be okay.
It kind of breaks the mythos because you summon a Pumpkinhead because of some wrong that's been done to you, and the Pumpkinhead is like a revenge demon.
That's true. Yeah.
So that doesn't sound fun, you know?
Having wrongs done to you? No. Suboptimal.
Having to right wrongs. Yeah. Let's see. This is from our friend Rachel. What's the supposedly for kids movie that messed you up as a kid? I think we bring up The Gate a lot. That movie is terrifying.
Is that for kids though?
It's PG-13.
Oh, look,
No,
PG-13. You're not supposed to be showing.
That's always been kind of
six-year-olds.
held up as like a horror movie for kids that I feel like miscalculated the dial a little bit.
I would say the movie has to be like Gremlins is a good answer because I do think Gremlins was like kind of marked.
I think that Pee-wee's Big Adventure is a life-alteringly messed up movie that kids watch.
Yeah.
I would say also like some cartoons and actual kids movies, like Secret of Nim messed me up. You know, that was scary. The rats were really scary in that one. The Dark Crystal, the Skeksis.
I brought this up before, but I remember seeing the 70s Lord of the Rings cartoon somewhere once that really messed me up. What is it? It's not Lord of the Rings. What is it called?
No, The Hobbit.
The Hobbit, right.
It's
right.
I
know
what you're talking about. Yeah.
Really messed me up, man.
With the songs, with the singing.
Yeah.
For me, it's Ariel's heard me say this, but for me, it's Watcher in the Woods, which is like this old Disney Betty Davis movie with the Ice Castles girl.
We did an episode on it, didn't we?
We did,
did
yeah.
you?
It was I think that was a Joe staff pick.
That absolutely messed me up as a kid. And then I had a slumber party where I was like, you all have to see this because it really messed me up. And somebody had to call their parents and get brought home.
Oh no.
I was also very unnerved by Lamb Chop as a kid. I don't like
puppets.
Adults. I love puppets, but I don't like adults talking like children.
Lamb Chop is
weird. I was gonna
weird.
say because you love the Muppets. So.
Lamb Chop is just
Lamb Chop is
weird in general, like a weird cultural thing that if you're not old enough, you're just like, what? Oh yeah, it just show up on TV like other shows and like variety shows. This is one that's so weird. It's not a kids movie, but I always bring it up. I was terrified of the movie Airplane when I was a kid. Like because I was not old enough to understand the jokes, I thought it was scary. Like I thought it was supposed to be scary. Like I must have been really young. And in particular, the scene where the pilot turns into Jello or where they're like blow up dolls, I remember thinking that was like the scariest goddamn thing I'd ever seen in my life. Who's flying the plane,
popular plane crash movies? Like
Yes,
that was
disaster, like
Airport.
77 or whatever.
Well, there were multiple airport movies. Yeah, that was
like it. When I think of Airplane, it still kind of creeps me out when I think about it. Like it's.
Oh my god, I watched that movie fairly recently. I love it. I love it so much. So.
The dancing with the
knife
in the back.
there's so many jokes in that movie. It's unbelievable. Yeah, but none of them are appropriate anymore. But it makes it all the more cherished.
We got another one here from Rachel. Matilda and Eric, your team Attic. Ariel and John, your team Cellar. Debate which is the scariest room and why.
Oh, the Cellar.
I mean, it's Cellar.
I think it's Cellar. Yeah, I think it's Cellar.
It's dank and dark, and attics are just like dusty and spider.
Although
I go Attic. Attic is like rat poop land, and it's
I suppose that's true.
You can fall through it.
Yeah.
Which is alarming.
The other thing I'll say is
point.
if you have a house that has one of those creepy ladders that pulls down, that is terrifying. I'm not going
Those
anywhere
are
near
scary.
that shit.
Totally agree.
Yeah, there's no way.
When I was growing up, the attic was scarier than the basement. Like our basement, we had a proper cellar, like it was underground basement. And it was we had a room down there. Like my dad's tools were all down there. So like we were down there all the time. You never went in the attic. And when you did, the lighting sucked. So it was like there were just
extra.
shadows everywhere.
My
and, like,
Scuttling.
my grandmother's house that already felt kind of haunted had one of those pull down ladder things, and I never went up. Like I never saw what it looked like up there. It just terrified me.
Wow, I never
I've
lived anywhere
never
that had
been
a
in the attic.
basement or an attic. So
Wow.
I have fond basement things or cellar things because my grandparents had a cellar in the mountains, and I would go there in the summers. And they had, before I was born, they had owned a pool hall, so there was a pool table down there, so I could just like entertain myself.
well, that's
playing
Yeah,
pool all
we had
day.
a semi-finished basement that had like a foosball table in it, so that was kind of cool. But it also had that creepy wall door. So catch 22.
Yeah. And they had like megawatt lighting down there. Like
well,
it was
that
not
helps.
dark.
yeah, that helps a lot.
That does help. That's true. Last up tonight, excuse me, Skylar. Finally, a film that understands the true horror that is mathematics. What was your most hated subject in school?
Math.
Yeah, I'm going to one-up it and say chemistry because it's like fancy math.
Chemistry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chemistry was tough.
Because it was just the foundation of chemistry is all the math shit I couldn't even touch from math class. So
Yeah, once we got past algebra, I was like, I don't care anymore. This is too hard.
I never made it that far.
I liked all of the subjects for the most part.
Of course you did.
Well, la-di-da.
I had very, very poor penmanship. I can't remember if I was talking about this in the show recently. And so I felt like I was like constantly getting my ass handed to me as a little kid because my handwriting was so bad. But by the time I was in high school, like they kind of gave up. They were kind of like, look, your penmanship sucks. Like, and we were working a lot on computers at that point, so it didn't really matter.
I always excelled at like English and history and those kinds of courses with like very minimal effort. But I could give all of my effort and barely scrape by in like math and science. I liked science until it crossed over with math, and then it kind of anything with math basically.
At a certain point, it basically is just math. So
yeah,
science.
I was very relieved in undergraduate when, as a like soft science major, as a psych major, you just have to take statistics. And my teacher taught I don't know if this person was a gambling addict, but everything was gambling probability. Like 100% of the class was gambling probability, which was pretty good actually. It made it very like, how many times am I going to roll a 6?
That's amazing.
It's very tangible. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good way to teach it.
All right, everyone.
Did you guys go to Vegas and go like full MIT or whatever and try to scam the casino?
These were the psych majors we were
Fair.
We are also on Instagram. First up from Merle. What's everyone's favorite Universal monster? We know Casey's is Frankenstein. I answered this.
Oh, that's so hard. I love all of them.
I said Oh, I know what I said. Frankenstein but specifically from Monster Squad.
Oh, interesting.
Which actually isn't even. They made it different from the.
I was gonna say
Universal one.
it's not Universal.
I'm not into any of that stuff, honestly. Just gonna say it. I'm not gonna try to act cool and sophisticated, John.
I never had like strong attachments to. I had strong I love Lugosi and Karloff, but I'll take either of them kind of doing anything. I've probably only seen like one. I think I saw the Lon Chaney Wolfman, but I know because he's Invisible Man too, right? Lon Chaney. No,
who's
Invisible?
Carl Rains.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, it's behind you. If only I could read.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I know this is a good aerial question.
Yeah.
But that's the problem is I grew up on these, like watching them over and over and over again. Because my dad recorded them off TV, and then I'd watch them on VHS. But so I love all of them. But I mean, I would say the most sort of artful is probably Frankenstein, but I love Wolfman so much. And Invisible Man's probably my favorite movie. I just have like very fond memories of it. So all of them, can I say that?
Love it. What is a goal you have achieved long term or something you're proud of? That's a very real question. We're not used to those on this show.
Yeah,
really.
That's a serious one.
I taught myself how to make music when I was like 37.
That's amazing.
That was
And I have reaped the benefit because everybody's talking about our new our new theme song for More Deadly.
great.
People are
I
loving
love
it.
it. Yeah, that was fun. That's a fun project.
This is not long term, but in the pandemic, my dance group has had to go to Zoom for a long time, and so we can't do these like big long turn passes. Like we're usually a jazz based group, and we did that, and so I've been trying to learn how to tap dance, which is like the bar of entry is like the learning curve is terrible, and I still feel a little bit. It sounds like a dresser being dragged across the floor, but I'm starting to actually hear some things when I do
that's
it, and
fun.
and it took like a year and a half. But
I love
it's
that. Now, does
going pretty
anybody
well.
live?
Yeah.
Does anybody live below you?
No.
Okay, that's probably good.
That's very lucky.
In the Bay Area.
No,
I
and I
didn't
got
know.
one of those, like they make like yoga mat type things that are roll out tap
okay.
boards that you can.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize
Yeah.
that.
Fun,
The poor neighbors right here, but yeah, nobody lives below me.
fun fact: I took tap and jazz when I was a kid. I still have
Interesting.
not forgiven my mother for it, but I did it.
You didn't find it empowering to like stomp around in those shoes?
I found nothing about that empowering. No. Somewhere
I
there.
took swing
Makes so
lessons
much
in high school when
noise.
like swing was really popular.
Well, I think we're
but
like.
I cannot dance. It's impossible to teach me. I've had so many people try to teach me how to dance, and it's just like right over my head. I can't get it.
That swing thing was big when
There's
we
your
were
challenge.
in high school. That swing thing just
Yeah.
like came on out of
Mhm.
nowhere.
At a moment. Definitely at a moment.
This is an interesting question. I'm not even sure I understand what it means, but here it is. What's the most important horror franchise? Important.
Ay, ay, ay.
That's
Such an
I
interesting
mean,
word.
like important to the genre or important to me?
I don't know, Ariel.
Or
You-
like,
you
yeah, like
decide.
culturally important. Like,
right.
It's very, that's a toughie. Um,
I feel like 90% of modern horror is here because of Halloween. I'm just gonna say it.
I also feel like
Yeah.
franchise is like a tough thing there. Like, yeah, I mean, Halloween is probably like as good an answer as you're gonna. I was almost gonna go with like Dracula or something. Like,
Go way back.
but I wouldn't. Well, but it's not a franchise, right? It's like it's a property. It's like
Yeah.
what if you were like
Yeah.
what piece of IP or something was like most important? I don't know. That would probably I don't know, or like Night of the Living Dead, like
That's true. Night of the Living Dead changed a
zombie
lot.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so did Halloween. I mean, Halloween really
Yeah.
catapulted the slasher genre. So
Look, I'm here for Halloween. That's the final
yeah,
answer.
that's a hard question.
We
Yeah.
have to decide though. No, I'm kidding.
One.
Yeah, there's gonna be only one. Yeah.
Next up, what's the weirdest object you ever found in a basement or a cellar? Never found anything
The
weird in
weirdest
one.
object.
My in-laws, who we lived with during the pandemic, have a very large cellar, where all of our shit was. Like we stored all of our stuff. Like we were like living in their house. And my mother-in-law is like not like extreme hoarder. Like she's never gonna get to like the horror TV show hoarder because like she's not that level. But like she does not like to throw stuff away.
Mhm.
And like there is just so much shit in that basement that's like that was like my grandfather's like whatever like helmet he wore during the war. It's like what like okay like it's just and I'm like well are you gonna do anything with it or like she's like no. I'm like well you could get rid of it. No. You're just like cool. So when you pass away and we have to clean this fucking basement out like I just know what I'm up for. So
My
Yeah.
grandmother's house that had the creepy attic stairs downstairs smelled like it was like 100 years old. Like just I remember the smell still. It's like that strong. She had an old ancient couch from like the 50s or something down there, and behind it there was a dead mouse like laying on its side that had been there. I mean, my whole childhood it was there until at some point the
God.
basement was like cleaned out. So like it had been there so long.
why
that-
didn't you move? Like why didn't
I was a child, John. It had been there for so long. It was like mummified over with like dust and cobwebs and stuff. And like I assume just bone. I don't even know if it was like what was left of it. But we would just go down there and look at it because it was creepy. But yeah.
Like move the couch back. And
It was out
Peer
from the
at it?
wall enough, and then there was a big creepy like Persian rug hanging from the wall behind the couch that had like a whole scene on it. Dude, it's you want to talk about a
Yeah.
set of a horror movie. Now, that's what they should have used for Hell in this movie because it would have been much creepier.
Get there and you turn to your brothers like, hey, you want to go check out the mouse? It's like, ay, ay, ay.
Did I
Yeah,
interrupt?
John, speaking of what you were saying, like my mom, I'm like the third only kid, like the third generation of only kid.
Oh, I see.
And so
I see.
all the stuff has
It's
So
just
it
like a
still
funnel.
sit down to you.
she casually told me the other day, like, we have a bear gun downstairs. I don't know what to do with it, which is, like,
It's cool.
Hey, Tremors.
because she was like from the Northern California mountains. So it's it is. It will stop a bear.
That's
I don't
amazing.
know.
I assume. If not,
I don't know
then
if you
Yeah,
pack
cool.
it like a musket.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what happens.
listen. If it
Muzzle
won't,
loader.
if it won't
Yeah.
stop a bear, then I have a bone to pick with that company that made that thing, calling
Yeah.
it a bear gun. My parents have actually gone the opposite way, where my mom finally. We have all been so vocal in the fact that like we just don't want your stuff. Like so now my mom's thing is she'll just go to my dad and be like, you need to go through this because otherwise we're gonna die and they don't want it and then they're gonna have to throw it out. Cause like they've also had
Oh,
to
yeah.
help other people like in their age group clear out their parents' stuff.
Oh,
Like
wow.
my dad helped a friend of his clear out his mom's house after she died. And they had to get like 3 dumpsters to like throw all this crap at, like hardcore. Like,
Yeah.
nobody wants that.
My
stuff,
dad's
dude.
going through that right now. Both my parents, it's mostly my dad though, are just like, literally he's like, yeah, you got some high school stuff down the basement. Like, you can come get it or we're lighting it on fire basically.
Yeah.
We're just like, okay, like you saved that. I didn't save it. Like, what are you doing? So,
It's amazing the stuff I did save from my childhood that was up in my parents' attic. I never, who cares? But the shit that I threw out, it's like
yeah.
heartbreaking, John. All my tapes. I wish I still had them. Controversial question. I'm afraid to answer. If you've been on Twitter lately, you know why. Team Johnny Depp or Team Amber Heard?
Oh. I mean, come on. This is no. We're not going to touch this.
Yeah.
You
I agree with that
yeah.
sentiment.
I haven't been following this at all.
Oh man, you're Matilda.
mean-
You're the person as a mental health professional whose opinion I really want on this case. All
All right. So like, I
you
read
listen.
a little
Hold on,
bit
hold
about
on.
it.
People have to
I've
go to
re-
patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror so you can watch a live stream of one of these shows Matilda's on and just watch her facial expressions for the whole show because she keeps me entertained
priceless.
every time she's on.
I mean, I will say this is why I'm not a psychoanalyst, right? Where you like, I went to school kind of as a psychoanalyst, and they were like, you got to keep your face together, and I was like, well, that's not the theory.
Yeah,
for
don't
me.
play poker.
Well, no. I've like read a little bit about this. I mean, I'm not going to pretend to know anything about who's wrong, who's right. There's no way Johnny Depp is winning. He's going to lose it at trial. Like he is.
Oh,
like,
I don't know.
legally-
That's not the impression I'm getting from what's happening at that trial. No, a lot of stuff is coming out that's not looking great for Amber Heard.
Oh, really?
He's suing her for
Yeah.
defamation.
Yeah, I was also just reading that her lawyers are seeming kind of incompetent in some of the trial. So, regardless of who has the evidence, it might not go her way just because her lawyers aren't great. I don't know.
The thing that I
So
saw
like,
that happened
I
yesterday.
only read like a lot of the pre-coverage. I have not been following the like TikTok of the actual trial itself. And interesting.
It's wild. I
Maybe I
kinda-
should sign up for Twitter.
Man, it's the problem is that
Psych!
they all have stands, John. You know, so you got to be careful. You know, with these people coming.
But like,
after
come
you.
That
on.
sounds like a
Johnny Depp
quagmire.
hasn't done anything relevant in like 10 years.
John, just get on Twitter. Trust me. Just get on Twitter. I can't. It's exhausting explaining this stuff to you every week, John. I gotta say.
No, like
As-
I understand. Like, there's a reason I don't go on Twitter. Like,
You guys should just have a whole podcast where it's just Eric explaining internet
It's-
shit to Schnars.
that it's called Bloody Good Horror, is what it is. Did people just give up giving movies creative titles? It's from Robel. I mean, this one is not great. As much as I hate the scary of 61st, I will remember it probably.
That's true. Yeah, I'm just really sick of like these legacy sequels naming themselves the same thing as the original. That makes me angry. I hate it.
That shit. I can't remember if we talked about it on the show or if I just like texted it or sent it. But there's like the new Scream movie on the poster. It says something to the effect of like, "This is a new movie."
Yeah,
It's
Yeah,
it says new
it's
movie
so
on it.
stupid. And now when you want to
Yeah.
search for them, you have to put like the year they came out, basically, so you can differentiate between them.
Scream-
It's so
Just-
obnoxious.
Scream
just
the
call it
new
Scream 5.
Scream the new movie is 100%. It sounds like something from Spaceballs, when Mel Brooks as Yogurt is like showing all the merchandise. And it's like Spaceballs the movie. Love it. Last one. It's not a question. It's from Brian. He likes to harass me with these things. Does the cellar match the drapes? No, because the cellar's blue, and the rest of the movie's not blue. So that's how you know when you're in hell, because it's blue.
Was
So
that
there
the
was that
question they
stuff
were
on the
asking?
wall, the black light stuff on the wall also.
Oh, right.
The-
The
oh,
faces.
That was like so not
Forgot about
scary.
that.
It was like that was supposed to be this huge scare in
So
the movie,
weird.
and I'm just like, okay. And then he's like, yeah, this. He makes up some kind of explanation of how it's really old, of how I guess they had blacklight paint like a long time ago or something.
Well, it was some like kind of organic matter. He says.
I know. It's
Look,
just,
like I completely forgot about that scene. That scene is like disconnected from the entire.
it's
rest
one
of
of
this
the
movie.
biggest like scare like turns in the movie almost, like because
Yeah.
it's I feel like it's the first big thing that happens after the daughter disappears, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause she
that she
sends the
goes down
cops
there with
down
it.
in there, right? And
Hmm.
the guy goes in with like a hazmat suit or something to investigate.
What I don't think is fair is that Casey picked this movie and then wasn't here to review it. Just gonna put that out there. And he wants to do The Intruder, which is like a real cheap 80s slasher. We should have just done that, John.
Oh, yeah.
I know I fought him over it in the past, but I see no reason.
now you're just like, yeah, I'm good enough.
John, you know what is
Yeah.
happening on Friday? Joe
What's
Bob,
that?
Joe Bob is back.
Oh,
Season 4, the last
I'm
drive.
happy for you.
You should be, because I'm pretty happy.
Has he announced the movie? Do you know what the movie is?
They don't, and they announce it. You just find out. It's like old. It's like
Like-
old times, John.
Wow.
You just find
show
out
up
when it
and
comes
it's just-
on, yeah. And they'll put out little teasers on Twitter.com about what the movie is. But yeah, you don't find out until you watch it. I used to just sit. I remember I would sit and turn to channel 19, which was a TV Guide channel, and wait. This was like my curse. I'd wait for it to go around, but once it got past your channel, like your top, so like at the time in the late 90s, you had like 60 channels, maybe, I think, if you if you had expanded cable. But once it got past that, if you missed like TNT, right? It was TNT. And then you'd have to sit there and wait. But once it got past 60, which is what you had, there was all this other bullshit, pay-per-view, whatever. I have the attention span of a gnat, John. So I would just sit there and be like, just wait. Just wait. It's going to come back around. And they'd be like, I'm just going to flip for like 5 seconds. And every time I would flip back and it would be like 2 seconds past where I needed what
You would have lost chicken with
yes. So that was like if I was, because what I would check, because they never had Joe Bob on like consistently. Sometimes it was other crap. It was like Up All Night or the stupid one where they made food. There were just like different versions of these like movie host shows that were on. So anyway, that's my story. TV Guide channel.
Always a delight.
I don't know what we're doing next week.
Nothing new. I was just looking at the new releases. There is this Firestarter reboot coming.
John Carpenter is doing the score to that.
Is he? It's Blumhouse,
Yeah.
I think, right?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. I'm like mildly interested if John
Is it coming
Carpenter's
out in
involved.
theaters this weekend?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, it's in like 2. It might be more than that. It might even be like 3 weeks from now.
Depending on the timing, I
then-
might be able to do that.
I got a long trailer. So I saw The Northman. I don't know if we can very quickly, but I got a long trailer for Men, which I was kind of talking shit about when I saw the short version of the trailer. I thought the long version was pretty good. It looks scary AF. Like it's like a straight horror movie, not any fooling around nonsense.
Love it.
Nice.
Well, we don't know what we're doing, so stay tuned to social media. And you can also check out Ariel and Matilda at The Zombie Girls, GRRLZ, in your podcatcher of choice and all the internets. So there you go. It's going to do it for our review of The Cellar. Hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll talk to you next week.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.